Hi guys, welcome to Ginger Chick Rehab. If you are new here, my name is Yvonne and I love to transform pre-loved thrift store finds and give them new life. So in today's video, I have a bedroom set trio, a furniture trio that I am super excited to give that industrial farmhouse vibe to. So these are the outdated pieces that we are going to be working on. Who doesn't love a little trio for your bedroom? Not necessarily does it always have to go into your bedroom. I just love these solid wood pieces. And then sometimes it's just the carving of the wood and the hardware that makes it outdated. And at first glance, you probably wouldn't even think that these are a matching set. Well, they're not necessarily, but look at the inside. So it's like that same era, that 90s era. I think they were all tagged like 1990 of something. But they all have that newspaper print bottom drawer. So I thought this is perfect to make a little matching set. Definitely have a lot of drawers that we will be working with today. So I have a lot of hardware that I'm going to be removing. I'm not going to be reusing this hardware. And of course it would be nice to be able to use a power drill, but that is not always the case. Nope, I had to find the right size screwdriver to get these to come off. And then the right angle to get enough pressure on them to get them to come loose. And they ended up being a flat head screw. Oh, that happens. Well, actually, each one of the drawers kind of had different screws, and that was by the manufacturers. They didn't look like they had been replaced by any means. I do have a keyhole that was on here, though. In the design, I'm thinking I'm not going to put it back on this piece, but I definitely will save it for another time. There's quite a bit of detail that I need to fill in, and so I'm going to use some of the Bondo wood filler. I love this stuff because it has a 10-15 minute dry time and I can start working with it, and then I can mix up. I'm going to have to mix up quite a bit, but I'm going to mix up batches. I don't want to mix up everything I think I need, because as soon as you apply the hardener, which is this blue stuff, and get it mixed together, it starts to harden. So it's better to work in smaller batches and work with what you have and then mix up a new batch. While that is hardening up, I have plenty of surface area that I need to scuff sand. So I'm going to go ahead and start with some 220 sandpaper and just get that really shiny top coat down so there's something for my new paint to stick onto. Really, after 10 minutes, this is ready to sand. The longer you let it sit, the harder it becomes and the harder it is to sand, or the longer it's going to take you to sand. And then I like to take it all the way down to it is flat. Just you can see where it's just filling in that surface. You'll know, you'll kind of run your hand over it, you'll be able to feel if it's bumpy or if it's smooth or not. I finally got all these drawers sanded. That was a lot of drawers. And now I'm just taking an air compressor and blowing off that loose sand. So now that I have that all done, we're going to go ahead and get these cleaned up using some Dawn dish soap and some hot water. I would love to say that all my sanding was done, but no, it's not. On the tops of the nightstands, there's lots of gouges in the wood that I'm going to need to sand all the way down, just like I did the drawer fronts themselves. So it's nice to kind of work in stages. So I've got the drawers done and I've got them washed so that can dry. And now I'll work on these pieces. You know, it's just kind of a round robin game. You're just constantly working on something. I'm cleaning a piece, I'm sanding a piece, I'm inspecting a piece, I'm just looking for all those details, like that cardboard that always seems to be left on the bottom of these pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and get them removed and get the bottom and the back just as clean as I did the front. I chose to work on these pieces first because, one, they were going to be more time consuming, and two, I need to seal in, even out the porosity from where the Bondo was put, where the hardware, as you can see, you can definitely see where the hardware was. And then I didn't really, because I'm painting these pieces, work on the detail areas too much to get all the top coat and stain off of these. But I am sealing them in, equaling out the porosity with a couple coats of shellac, letting them dry about 15-20 minutes in between coats. See, there's always a method to my madness. So while that is drying, I'm going to go ahead and start working on the dresser body itself. And that is a heavy beast. I have to, yeah, I got it up here, but I'm not sure that's the most easiest position to work on this piece of furniture. But I knew that it had some scuffs on the top, and I don't know what was going on with that one side, why that had so many marks in it per se. But luckily they were just in the finish and they sanded nice and smooth. And I'm sure that there are paints out there and primers out there that you don't really have to do all the scuff sanding. It's just a personal preference. You know, we get into our little groove, our little vibe of the way that we like to do things. And especially when I see scratches and defects that aren't just going to add character to the piece, that are going to just stick out when you paint it, I will take the time to scuff sand the piece. And sometimes the scuff sanding goes down farther than I think it should, but that's okay. You know, you just work with whatever you're given at the time when you're doing the sanding. So I don't always necessarily want to have to lift a piece up, but you do kind of have to check out the underneath. One, to clean it, and two, to see why this didn't slide very well when it was on our workshop floor. Well, that would be because it doesn't have anything, just wood on. So there are these little gliders that you can buy off Amazon. I have a multi-pack that help the piece of furniture glide and slide a little bit better. So they're really simple. You just hammer them in. If I had another person here to help me lift this this very heavy dresser, I would have put it like on some sawhorses or one of the moving carts like I have the nightstand, but they just kept moving, so I had to, the only solid surface that wouldn't move was our workbench. So I got it up, was able to sand it, but I needed to take it off of that to be able to paint it because I can't reach all the areas. But anyway, we are sealing this in with some shellac, which is going to even out the porosity. It's a porosity filler, the way that the paint will take on the item. So even though the paint I'm going to use has a primer, I just like to take that extra step to make sure that my paint is going to adhere evenly. Now I did the same thing on the tops of the nightstand, but now that it's dry, you can feel a texture. You can feel raised and bumpy between getting the wood wet and cleaning it and then spraying the shellac on there. There's kind of a texture. So I'm just taking the finest grit steel wool, which is the 4-0 steel wool, and then just making sure that it's nice and smooth. I do just have a little bit of taping to do. I'm just going to tape off the inside where the drawers go, just in case I'm not the neatest of painters. So for my paint color, I'm going to be using Fusion's Cast Iron. I love this. It's not that black color. And then my favorite paintbrush, I link both of these down in the description below if you are interested, through the Painted Heirloom. And if you are a first-time buyer, she does offer a 10% off code. So I love Fusion paint. It's primer, paint, and top coat all in one. And with the right prep job, it looks like it's going to go on satiny smooth. So I'm going to go ahead and do a second coat on all the pieces. I won't torture and make you watch it again. Some people enjoy watching others paint, so I do leave quite a bit in, so you could always fast forward through that part. I'm not quite done painting yet. So on the detail areas, I'm going to be doing some decoupage paper. So I spent all the time doing that Bondo, and I want to add some accents to this piece, but I want to pop my decoupage paper. So I need to paint that area a lighter color, and I'm going to use white. So I'm going to spend the time, and just as a precautionary that I may not have a steady hand, I'm just going to tape off those black edges. For my white color, I'm just going to use some Victorian lace. It's a nice bright white, and it's going to take probably a couple coats to get it covered. When you're working on 3 pieces at once, there's always something to be working on, but this is the beautiful paper I picked out. I just love that it looks like an old crate and that it has that wood accent tone going on. Now, I ordered this paper off of Zazzle, and when it comes to ordering off of Zazzle, you can size your paper. So what I needed for the drawers for the nightstands and what I needed for the drawers for the dresser were 2 different sizes, so that is nice that I could measure out and fit those sizes. And plus, if you wanted to, you could change the color. So I went with more of a wood color to give it like this is recycled salvage wood on this dressers and the nightstands. And the nice thing about this paper is that you can really envision, if you can't, the object doesn't fit the whole sheet, that you can break it down and use it in 3 different parts if you want to, and that's exactly what I did. So luckily it fits my drawers. I was hoping that it was what I measured, that everything was going to work out. So I'm just going to try to really eyeball center using a ruler at the ends. I'll try to do my best, but I don't want to cut off any of the excess paper quite yet because I'm always nervous, like, did I cut off too much? So I'm just going to go ahead and go for it. So to adhere it to the drawer, I'm just using a layer of Mod Podge. And then when I get that layer of Mod Podge on, I will go ahead and mist my paper down a little bit and then have my hand in a Ziploc, or you can use a balled up saran wrap to help lay down the paper. Now when it comes to the dresser, I am doing the bottom 2 drawers of the dresser. And I really want my wording, I want it to line up. So I'm going to use the cotton emblem at the top and the premium cotton at the bottom. And I'm just, yeah, it's nice to see how they have the wood slats. It's working out perfectly that is the area that I need to cut off. Now, I don't think the cotton, the round is going to completely fit itself, but it'll be close enough. Like I said, I wanted this to look like it was salvaged wood pieces anyway. So now this drawer front has 3 sections, and I'm not going to cut the paper till after the paper has dried. But I thought it would be a good idea to have the grain pattern match up if I just leave this sheet of paper as one. Now for my second drawer, these drawers are a little bit on the skinnier side, so the premium cotton itself did not all fit on there, so I'm just kind of have to make the cut, kind of marking with my hands where I need to make the cut. The premium needs to come off. I'd like to keep the black line so I have a little bit more paper to cover the drawer front. I can set my drawers off to the side and let them dry, and now I can start sanding and getting my other pieces finished. So I want to distress these edges. If it's going to look like salvaged wood with a decoupage paper, I kind of want to blend that in and make these look like they've been salvaged. Well, I don't want to distress them heavily. I'm just going to take some of the sharp edges, and this fusion paint is so well that sometimes hand sanding it takes a long time, so I just take the tip of my mouse sander on the sharp edges and let that do the work for me. And if a little bit more comes off here and there, I guess it was meant to be. So I have all my edges distressed the way I want them, and now I'm going to take that fine steel wool, the double, I always say double, but the 4-0 steel wool, 000, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, it's the finest grit that you can buy, and all I'm doing is just opening up that finish. I'm blending in where I had sanded. You kind of see that it mats down when you sand to distress, and this will just blend that finish all together, make everything nice and smooth. Yes, it has a top coat in it, so you don't have to do this, but I have a different look that I'm going for. So we're distressed, we're sanded, and now I'm going to finish off that black paint by doing a coat of Jolie's finishing wax. This will just bring that cast iron back to life from all the sanding I do to it, and then give it a nice protective coat. So it's wipe on and then wipe off the excess. Just look at how it's bringing it back to life. Now I think it's time that I can sand off the edges of the decoupage paper and remove the tape. So I'm just taking some 220 sandpaper that I have used before on the power sander. I kind of save it for times like this that I don't want anything like terribly rough. So that was another reason I put the tape, just protect that black paint job that I had on there. And I'm sure my line underneath is not perfect, but the general area was saved, I believe. So once I get a good portion of this paper removed, then I will peel up the tape. My next step is to use my heat press and some parchment paper, and all I'm going to do is run it across the paper. Now that's going to help get any like major wrinkles out. It'll kind of, the warmth of the heat will kind of reactivate the Mod Podge and help just smooth this out and make sure that the bond is nice and tight. So I don't ever mind a little bit of wrinkles. I don't think I've ever laid a piece of decoupage paper perfectly wrinkle free, but I like that look. I like it that perfectly imperfect of it. If it was perfect, I may not have liked it as much. And I wasn't worried if I was going to be able to see any of that white paint from underneath by any means. I just needed to get that white paint on and the black. Yes, I probably could have done the whole black paint job after I put the decoupage paper. You know, can you go back in time? Not really. So I just have to move forward, and I'm just taking a stencil brush from the Dollar Tree store, and I'm just swirling some paint on there. I was going to distress and fade in anyway on the decoupage paper to make it look a little bit older, and not that I just put paper on here. So I wasn't too worried if some of that white paint was going to show. Now this one was a little bit more difficult, but I'm glad that I taped in between the slats, trying to find where that sharp edges was. So, you know, you just kind of go for it, because you can see as I'm running it back and forth, it was like, oh, here's two pieces. But I'm going to fade in the edges anyway, so if it wasn't the line I was originally going for, it'll be okay. But the angle, I just couldn't really get it to sand, but after sanding it, I got enough of a guideline to be able to take an X-Acto knife to it, and hopefully that I have a steady hand to run down that sanding line. So now it's time to do some fading in, and I'm going to my true and trusted Waverly antiquing wax that you get at Walmart still. Thank goodness, because I love the color of this stuff and it just works for certain projects. So I'm going to fade in the black frame, it's a frame, from the outer edges of the drawer, and then just work it into the inside. I just really love fading it in. It really gives it that salvaged wood type of look. And a lot of times the decoupage paper, it really just kind of looks like paper, but once you've added some type of a wax and some type of an age to it, it really blends it in. So this is, the Waverly is a nice dark brown wax, and you know, you want to go a little swirling pattern, work it in. You can always work it in farther if your mind tells you to. But for right now, I just want to go slowly and then just fade it in. It's the artistry, it's the fun of designing. I don't know about you all, but I find it very relaxing to create. Not only to create, but sometimes, you know, if you're watching me, you like to watch others create also. So now to add a different hue of brown that's not the same as the Waverly, and the Waverly really would darken this up, I'm using some of the Fusions, get at the Painted Heirloom also, the Fusions Aging Wax. And look at how it's just blending that together, really giving it that real wood look. Sure, when I was using the brown waxes, I can't say that I wasn't getting it onto the black, but that's a simple fix of just taking some more of that Jolie's black wax and blending that, toning that down, making it look like the body of the rest of the pieces. While I'm working on the drawers, I'm going to go ahead and remove the tape. I put some tape in the inside where the original hardware screws were, just in case. Sometimes that does happen, that Bondo does seep all the way through, so tape just to protect it. And to refreshen these drawers up, they're in wonderful shape, but just to give them new life and give them a nice little smell, I'm just using some of the Howard's citrus wax. This piece was created in the 90s, and I'm sure it could use a drink to freshen it up. Look at how it just brings that back to life. So I got some new hardware for this piece, and I love the apothecary library drawer poles for this type of furniture, that industrial farmhouse kind of vibe. I've ordered some smaller ones for the smaller spaces, and then some larger ones for the larger drawer. Though they're not an exact match, they're the same concept. Now, though I could put the hardware on myself, this is my husband, Chris. You can see his hands. He is much better at the measuring and the centering than I am. I can do it, but it might take me all day to do this type of job. So if somebody's willing to help you do something that's a little bit harder for you to do, you're like, amen to that, step in and help me, please. There is a lot of drawers that we need to measure up and look visually pleasing to the eye.
I knew the smaller ones would be too small for this size of drawer, and then the other ones are like the right fit, though. Yet again, they're the exact match. There wasn't anything that was an exact match, and they were already black, so bonus there that I didn't have to paint them. So this drawer is a double, so it's a large drawer, so it is double. So he's just measuring off like, okay, so this is where these went. So that's what they were on the top drawer. I mean, his visual of being able to perceive of how to measure in just astonishes me. I'd probably had all the drawers lined up on the workbench and been standing on the table and then like have them all in place until I visually liked them. But he can do a drawer by drawer much better than I can. So I will take help when help offers to help. That's how that works. So I didn't get my top coat on before he got the hardware on, and I could take the hardware off and then put my top coat on, but I think with a small foam brush, I can be, cautious enough not to get it all over the hardware using a smaller foam brush. And I like that the Fusion's top coat is in the matte finish so that it's not shiny. And then I can go very gingerly around the outer frame because I don't want the top coat on the outer frame because that'll change its finish compared to the rest of the black on the piece. And unfortunately, as you see, I did not get cotton centered. I went by centering of the word cotton itself when I was measuring, and I should have gone by the edge of the word. So, but it's already on there. I'm not going to take it off. Putting the larger hardware on didn't look right because it was going to even cover up more of the wording. So sometimes you just leave it that perfectly imperfect. It's a DIY, it's a handmade piece, it's made to look salvaged, and sometimes it is what it is. It's that perfectly imperfect. So thank you so much for watching today's video. And I know industrial farmhouse terminology, it's not for everybody. It kind of has a little bit more of a masculine type of vibe, but I love the antiquing of adding the decoupage paper. It kind of gives it that old world vibe. Absolutely love it. And a little bit goes a long way. You don't have to decoupage the whole thing if you don't want to. And, not always making that like the main focus. Like you see this beautiful piece of furniture and they're like, oh, well, that's a nice accent. So thanks so much for watching. Give me a quick comment. Did you enjoy my furniture makeover today? I always am happy to help when Chris is there to help me. So let me know down in the comments below, have I inspired you to look at secondhand finds in a new way? Even furniture pieces, yes, they all can be given new life and be saved from the dump. So thanks again for watching today's video, and as always, if you're part of our YouTube family, thank you so much. And if you're new and you're checking out this channel for the first time, not only do I do furniture flips, but I do smaller items, anything that I can get my hands onto anything that I can get my hands on it in a thrift store and I can envision making it over and making it a little bit better, I love to share it with you here on the channel. So again, thanks for watching. We will see you next time, and you can see what we're up to. Bye.